Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day, friends. You are tuning in to the Ask Shelley Show, the special Valentine's Day segment. So for those of you who are tuning in, you got to make sure that you grab your spouse. Make sure your spouse is sitting right next to you for this segment. I'm going to drop some quick nuggets that are designed to take the intimacy in your headquarters to the next level. Again, this is Shelley Fan, and right now I am your intimacy enhancement coach, and we're going to jump right into it. Make sure you click that share button and assure that you are grabbing your spouse and joining in on today's live. Again, I'll only be before you about 15 to 20 minutes, maybe, depending on how this flows. But today we are focusing on how to assure that 2021 is the year where you maximize intimacy in your marriages. So go ahead, click share, grab your spouse. Send a message to your spouse if he or she is not able to be right next to you so they can tune in with you. Tell them to go to Facebook or YouTube and look up Ask Shelley and join in for this live segment, dropping nuggets on how to enhance the intimacy in your headquarters. I am the proud host of the Ask Shelley Show, going live every Tuesday at 12, sharing difficult and challenging questions that people send in. I provide feedback. My listeners provide feedback in hopes that it assists someone with adding tools to their wellness toolbox to help them in activating the best version of themselves. Today's special show is specifically for married couples and seriously dating couples, an understanding with the hopes that this will bring you to a higher level of understanding that intimacy matters. Sexual gratification matters. So we're going to start out with an exercise. I am your intimacy enhancement coach. That means that you have to listen to what I say during this coaching session. So I want you now, right, to just lean over to your spouse and pop a quick kiss. Good job. Yes, your intimacy enhancement coach can see through this virtual space. Now what you're going to do is you're going to act as if we pressed a slow motion button on that action, right? So whatever you just did, you're going to do it again, but you're going to act like we have pressed a slow motion, a slow down button. You're going to do the same thing in very slow motion. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, lean over, kiss. This is in slow motion. Good job. Now we're going to do something else. You are going to establish eye contact for 3 to 5 seconds and proceed with your kiss in slow motion. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, eye contact, 3 to 5 seconds. Establish that small, smooth kiss in slow motion. Great job. Now we're going to do all of those steps all over again, but this time you're going to establish skin contact somewhere from the shoulders up on the person that you love. And so when you lean over and you give that soft and slow down kiss, you're going to make sure that you are touching the person that you love somewhere from their shoulders up where your skin can touch their skin. And we're going to do that in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Eye contact. Slowly lean over, give that kiss, and make sure during that kiss you are establishing skin contact. We're going to add one more factor. Imagine you were fasting for 21 days. You haven't eaten any food for 21 days, and you are finally at the table and you're about to end your fast. So your favorite savory dish or dessert is right in front of you and you haven't eaten. Can you imagine what you would sound like sinking your teeth into your favorite dish? It may sound something like this. So what we're going to do is when you make contact with your spouse, you are going to release a when that kiss is established. So all together, eye contact, 3 to 5 seconds, slow motion. making sure you're touching them somewhere from their shoulders up where skin to skin contact can be established, that slow motion kiss, and then release the sound. Now look at what we did. We took a simple pop kiss and took that simple pop kiss to an entirely different level. Even if it's not an entirely different level, but we took it to a different level with just some intention. That's all it required was additional intention. And that is what Sex Zones is about. About 5 years ago, I wrote a curriculum called Sex Zones, and it set out to increase the intimacy in marriages. And what it does is it teaches the skills and the practices that have to be implemented in 3 different zones in order to increase attachment and bonding and connectedness between husband and wife. And those 3 zones are this, starting with the cold zone. In the cold zone, we teach the day-to-day practices that prioritize the marriage to set the stage for amazing intimacy. In warm zone, we teach the multiple kinds of eye, skin, and verbal contact that turns the heat up in a way that creates excitement and a longing for one another to sexually connect. And then there's the hot zone. And this is where we teach husband and wives how to skillfully and effectively provide sexual pleasure to their loved one. Sex zones will continue to be taught in the form of virtual and in-person conferences. It will continue to be facilitated in the form of one-on-two intimacy coaching and marriage counseling sessions. And will now, effective Valentine's Day, the launch will be facilitated through intimate small groups of other married couples and seriously dating couples as well, in the form of very private and confidential support groups. It will now be facilitated through the form of Sex Zones retreats, weekend retreats for marriages, for married couples, in addition to online courses. Super excited. The whole journey starts with a 25-item survey, a 25-question survey that helps married couples to determine where they stand in their marriages, specifically as it relates to intimacy and sexual gratification. We do not have the time to go through all 25, but we're going to highlight 5 questions of the 25-question survey. And if you want the full 25-question survey, all you have to do is email info@askshelley.com and in the subject line, write, "Send me the survey." But because we're not doing all 25, we're going to highlight 5 questions on that 25-item survey for you to start to determine a little bit about where you and your spouse land. Are we ready? Are we ready? Let me go to the comments. Whoever is on, let me know who you are and where you are tuning in from. Hello, Martine, and happy Valentine's Day to you too. Happy Valentine's Day to you and your loved ones as well. Whoever is on, let me know who you are and where you are tuning in from. We are about to take a quick survey. This is for you and your husband, or you and your wife, you and your fiance. It is important for us to be able to determine where we stand. So it's a 25-question survey. We're highlighting 5 today. Are we ready? So this is what you're going to do. For every question that is mostly true, you're going to give yourself a point. Simple, right? For every question that is mostly true, you're going to give yourself a point. Starting with question number 1. We look forward to having sex and providing pleasure to one another. Key word is we. We have to stop assuming that our sexual pleasure and gratification is the same sexual pleasure and gratification that our partners are experiencing. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the definition of being selfish. And so it's important to understand that when we're talking about intimate connections and sexual gratification, it has to be something that both parties are experiencing together. We look forward to having sex and providing pleasure to one another. For those of you who see sex and intimacy as a chore, that is an issue, and that has to stop in 2021. It has to end. And so if this is mostly true, you're going to give yourself 1 point. And next, we often make and maintain eye contact during sex. We often make and maintain eye contact during sex. We find that couples that have strong attachment and bonding and are truly connected, that they are often intentional about obtaining and maintaining eye contact with one another. It creates a neurological response when you're able to do that on a consistent basis with the person that you love. And so when you are intentional about establishing that eye contact during sex, it again creates another opportunity to take gratification to another level. So if this is mostly true for you, give yourself 1 point. The next one, we are intentional about learning and trying new positions. We are intentional about learning and trying new positions. Why is this important? There are so many pleasure zones on the genital zones, right? There are many pleasure zones on the genital zones. So in the vagina, there are many pleasure zones inside of the woman's vagina. And there are many pleasure zones on a male's penis. And so when you are using different positions and trying new positions, and you are increasing your chances of engaging those different and those multiple zones. So it is important that couples are intentional about learning and trying new positions. The next, most of the time, we are completely naked when sexually intimate. We find that with increased intimacy, there is increased vulnerability, and that vulnerability is often evidenced by nakedness and eye contact and honesty. And so this is an important piece when you are assessing where you and your spouse or you and your fiance lie. Most of the time, we are completely naked when sexually intimate. If this is mostly true, give yourself a point. Am I saying that having a quickie and just kind of pulling things aside or pushing things or pulling things aside is wrong? Absolutely not. But we have to make sure that we are intentional about nakedness. It says a lot about where people are in their relationship, in the trust that they have for one another, the safety that they feel in the relationship. Very, very telling. All right. So I think we have covered all 5. So again, you're going to give, did we cover all 5? Let me make sure. Okay. So what you're going to do now, you're going to give yourself 1 point if it was mostly true. And if I missed one, let me know. Let me know that we went through all 5. I just want to make sure that we did. Okay. And so, who's here? Hi. Thank you. That was 4. Thank you so much. All right, let me go back. So the last one is, I knew it was off. I was like, wait a minute, that we went through 5 really super quick. Let me go back. Thank you, Martine. So right now we're doing 5 questions out of 25. And so the next one is this, and I don't have a banner for it, but I guess I can put it in the banner very quickly. Let me copy and paste it here. Each of you are clear about the desires and fantasies of the other. You are clear about the desires and fantasies of the other. And the reason why this is important is because we have a lot of couples that are not honest about what they want. And they're not very honest about what they desire. And so they go on and feel a lack of fulfillment because they do not find it safe to share how they feel. So the last one is, you are clear about the desires and fantasies of the other. That's number 5. You are clear about the desires and fantasies of the other. So now you have given yourself 1 point for every statement that was mostly true. If you are at a 0 to a 1, you may be in danger zone. And the reason why I say may is because the survey includes 25 questions and we just highlighted 5. But if you are 0 to 1, you just may be in danger zone. If you are at 2 to 3, you may be in cruise zone. This means that you're not going faster or slower. You're just kind of at the same level. And we have to be very careful because when you are at cruise zone, it can get old after a while. We are talking about maintaining a lifetime commitment to one another. And so it's important to make sure that if you are in that cruise zone, that you are open to exposing yourself to new information to spice things up. And if you have a 4 or a 5, you may be in fast and furious zone. And this is where sexual gratification is not necessarily a destination, but it's a continual process where we're taking that bar and taking it higher and higher and higher. And this is the great thing about it. You can do so with no limitations. Sexual gratification is not necessarily a destination. It is a process by which those sexual gratification levels go higher and higher and higher. There are people that are establishing and experiencing orgasm without penetration. So understand that there are so many different levels that a husband and a wife can achieve. And so take the limitations off and expose yourself to the new information that will cause the intimacy in your marriage to explode. We are talking about increasing the fire in your headquarters. And that is what Sex Zones is all about. I'm going to talk about 5 quick nuggets before we close, but I want to highlight a question. I want to say this. In 1 year that I have been the host of the Ask Shelley Show, 1 year, we did a special segment last Tuesday on love, sex, and relationships, and then started to market sex zones that we are actually in now. I'll be jumping over to Instagram at 3:30 to do the same thing there and take their questions. Listen to this. In 1 year of people writing in with questions for the Ask Shelley Show, we received more questions from last week, Tuesday, till now. That more questions than we received in a whole year for the Ask Shelley Show. When it came to love, sex, and relationships, the amount of questions that we received surpassed the amount of questions we received in a whole year. Why? Because people want to know. There is a longing for connectivity. There is a longing for increased intimacy. We were created to be connected to others in an intimate fashion. Connectedness and attachment, all of it is so important. It says so much to the point where next Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, we will be doing a part 2 of that segment. It shows that people are longing for increased intimacy, and that is what Sex Zones is all about. I want to go to the question, one of the questions that was sent to info@askshelley.com as a result of the advertisements that went forth regarding sex zones and your Valentine's Day segment on today. And it reads, "Dear Ask Shelley, I tuned into your session on last Tuesday and learned so much. There is something that you said that I want my husband to hear directly from your mouth. You mentioned that emotions have a lot to do with sexual pleasure. I may have quoted you wrong. However, it was about how emotions tie into intimacy and ultimately enhances sexual pleasure. Can you speak on that again?" Thank you so much, Ryder, for writing in and sending your question for today's segment. While there are many more, we're going to try our best to try to get those questions covered on our next Ask Shelley Show segment this coming Tuesday. So listen, You are right. That is what I said. Studies show very clearly that when there is an emotional and intimate connection between two people, right? When there is an emotional and intimate connection between two people, that it maximizes sexual gratification because it causes men to sustain stronger erections. It causes women to have higher levels of lubrication, and it causes the orgasm to happen at increased intensity. You can fact check me and you will find yourself that this is absolutely true. So for when husbands and wives, or when individuals want to jump right into the sack and not necessarily focus on the importance of emotional and intimate connections, you are robbing yourself of the opportunity to experience high levels of gratification and pleasure. Thank you so much for your question. We are going to be jumping over to Instagram at 3:30, where I will continue to share on these nuggets and take questions there as well. I want to make sure that I leave you with just 5 quick things, 5 quick reminders for you to take into consideration in 2021. We are declaring and we are decreeing that this is the year of intimacy. With increased intimacy, attachment, bonding, and connectedness, we believe that marriages will be stronger. Dr. Miles Monroe says it best when he says that strong marriages produce strong families, and strong families produce strong communities, and strong communities produce and promote a strong nation. The enemy is after the quality of marriages, and we have to be intentional about building those bonds. And so my quick nuggets for you: prioritize sex. It's not going to be something that just happens and becomes great on its own, but it has to be something that you are intentional about. Prioritize the experience of your spouse. When you are realizing that she is just turning over for you to do whatever you have to do so she can roll back over and go to sleep. And I'm not saying only women do this, right? But in my experience, it usually happens on the female side of things. That is an issue. It's not okay that you're getting yours and she is not. And so it's important that you are prioritizing the experience of your spouse. Prioritize the exposure to new information. You can never know too much. You can never know too much. So be intentional about erogenous zones. Be intentional about foreplay. Be intentional about the how behind these emotional connections and these intimate connections that I just spoke about. What is the how? I can talk about it all day, but what is the how? What are those specific steps? And that is what sex zones teach. Make sure that you are honest about what you desire. We can no longer lie and fake fulfillment. It will not strengthen your marriage. It will not strengthen your bond. It will only tear it down. So no more faking fulfillment. Cross it off the list. Be honest about what you desire. Be honest about what you need. And when I teach, I try so much to focus on what people should be doing and less on what you should not do. But I cannot end this that way. I need to make it clear. Do not minimize the importance of intimacy in your marriage. Even though you think, you know what? We're okay. We got this. We're okay. We're at a safe place. You may not be in 5 years or 10 years when things change and calamity hits, or who knows what the future holds. I'm not saying that it's all gloom and doom, but we have to make sure that we are preventive, right? That we are preventive in how we go about strengthening those connections in our marriages. We often wait for complete disconnectedness. We often wait for things to go sour. We often wait for adultery to creep into our marriages. We often wait for the enemy to have his way in our marriages. And I'm saying to you, sex zones will give you the skill sets and the tools that you need to be preventive, to be proactive in strengthening those bonds in your marriage. So, ladies and gentlemen, 2021 is the year of intimacy, where you're taking your intimate connections with the person that you love to another level. Remember, For those of you who are wanting to start that intention off right, email, send me the survey to info@AskSCHELLIE.com. It's a 25-question survey that will teach you how to score it. And based on your score, it will provide recommendations to you as to whether or not you and your loved one is in danger zone, cruise zone, or fast and furious zone. And no matter the zone that you are in, sex zones can continue to elevate you even the more. So again, email, send me the survey to info@AskSCHELLIE.com. For those of you who want to connect with me, you can connect with me at www.AskSCHELLIE.com. You can send your request for a consultation. You can book time with me in order to start the process of being intentional about, again, maximizing the intimacy in your marriage. I hope that this was helpful to you and your spouse. I definitely pray and speak blessings over each and every marriage that's represented on this live. For those of you who are going to swing back around and catch the replay, make sure that you have a very intentional and loving conversation with your spouse. Create a strategic plan on how you're going to expose yourself to new information in 2021 to ensure that you are achieving and establishing and engaging new levels of intimacy like never before, beyond what you could ever imagine or think. I will see you guys at 3:30 over on Instagram, where we're going to keep this going. All righty. Now, listen. This is what you need to do before we close. Make sure that you are very clear about what your follow-up actions will be, right? And so make sure you're emailing, send me the survey to info@AskSCHELLIE.com. I cannot say my name today. Email info@AskSCHELLIE.com to get the complete survey. And make sure that you plan on taking that entire survey with your loved one, scoring it, looking at where you land, and being very strategic and intentional about what you're going to do to take the intimacy in your marriage to the next level. This is Shelly Fan. I am your emotional intelligence expert and your intimacy enhancement coach. Thank you so much for your attendance. Thank you so much for your support. For those of you on Instagram, I'll see you in just a few moments. Be blessed and happy Valentine's Day.